When you eat in the house of the Lord, you fill yourself with what is of the Lord. Food is spiritual in that sense. But what I'm just saying is that you need to be careful, because a lot of the times the food of that household is attached to the spirits that operate in that household. Meaning that if these people are not of God, if these people praise a particular deity that is not God, that means their food is also dedicated to that deity. That is what I mean. So be vigilant who gives you what. Be vigilant with people's actions when it comes to handling your food. Okay? Might as well leave when they're not handling it well. When they're not handling it with a heart that is meaning well with you. Now, just like I've explained in God's Beauty Official, the cooking process, you can see every single thing that you put in a dish, right? And you can tell also at the end of the day where you had to do damage control. Now, for the fact that you don't see where this food is going and what is happening, you won't know exactly what to fix, where to fix. Just like in the example of cooking, what's burning, what's not okay, the taste, the bad things that may happen, you may not even be aware. And that is where the Holy Spirit comes in. That is where God comes in. That is where discernment comes in. That is where you need to be alert in the Spirit to know before you eat, and after you eat, pay attention to your body, pay attention to God. As it is a spiritual activity, pray over your food and listen to the prompting of the Holy Spirit within your soul, within your spirit. Okay, so now, to be mindful of food is to be cautious about what we eat, not only in the way that our minds perceive what being cautious about food looks like, but the way the Holy Spirit knows that this is you being cautious with your food, and this is what is required from your spirit in order for it to be strong. And what I mean by this is that the more we limit our flesh, is the more our spirit dominates. Hence why, even when it comes to fasting, that's how fasting works. Okay, the more you limit what you feel like is necessary or it's a need, and actually surrender to God in that regard, is the more you yield to God through the Spirit, because the Spirit is now being fed, especially if you're feeding your spirit the word of the Lord. And nothing of the physical is standing in the way. And that means anything that you give up, all the more to surrender your self to God, saying that He is your need. That's where your spirit becomes strong. And that is why it is important to fast, because that is one way to draw closer to God. Now, I don't think it is by accident, or it is an accident, that the first sin was caused by eating, and the breaking of chains in the spirit is caused by not eating. Okay? And one thing we notice in Genesis, in the story of Adam and Eve, is that after Eve ate from the fruit of that tree that both of them were forbidden to eat from, right? Their whole entire minds shifted. It had an effect over their whole entire being, of which changed the way they lived. It changed them. It changed their nature. They got out of the presence of God. It changed how they live. It changed a lot. It changed a lot. Now they have to work, now they have to do this, it changed a lot. Maybe before they ate from that tree, they were going to be immortal. But now that they ate, they were mortal. It changed their whole entire lives. And this should show you that the ways of the world, and a person that would not be careful of what they eat, has a whole different mindset that they are open to, that is enabling that to happen. A whole different mindset. That is why you don't even consider the fact that, okay, this is food, I need to pray first and eat. Sometimes you eat and then you pray after, because the food is consuming you at this point. And it's real. The food is consuming you at this point. you're not even taking dominion, you're not even taking control, you're just allowing it to control you. There are people who have allowed food to be their God, and it's people who struggle with gluttony. It goes on to show you that food can destroy lives. It goes on to show that there's so much spiritual linkings regarding food. And that is why it is time for us to take our power back in this regard. To be disciplined, not only in spirit, not only in being obedient to God regarding other areas of our lives, praying, tithing, doing all these things, but to also be disciplined in food consumption. Because this is one of the heaviest and the biggest aspects when it comes to where the physical world meets the spiritual world the most.